Well, you look like my version of Jesus in my head, and you've saved my life more than once. So I just call you Jesus. I mean, look at you.
And I do have some people shout that out at me
As
when
you're
I'm
right.
out places and on bikes, and you can't turn around. You can't respond to that because that would be weird. It's
Hey, Jesus, you
it's
saved my
weird.
life.
Yeah.
So, okay, first of all, you've become a good, this is my friend, Sean,
Hello.
and I call him Jesus. And yes, he's the one. He's the one in Nashville. And I want to do a overall interview with you, which is what we're doing,
Okay.
for a couple different reasons, but really is 101 ways to heal that shit. And
Mm.
I used to be on chronic asthma medicine. I was on heart medicine for palpitations in my heart, and I always had an inhaler pretty much near me just for safety in case I had an asthma attack. And you, when I met you 3 years ago, I'm sure you'll tell me that this is inflammation. Yeah, okay. But when I met you 3 years ago, you kept telling me to drink Lute. You
I
kept, and
did.
I honestly didn't listen to you for like a year.
Was it that long?
Yeah, it was pretty much a year. And in 2001, I was like, what the hell is this? That's when my life changed the
That's
other
when the
time.
world changed.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, just like things change from time to
S-
time. My life
Sammy.
just changed again with you. Thank you. So
You're welcome.
I really love you. I love you so much. I appreciate you. One thing is I'm breathing because of you.
Breathing. Oh, right,
No,
because you don't have to take your asthma medicine anymore.
yeah, but you didn't tell me that was going to happen.
Oh no, I would never say anything like that.
I would never say that this is anything else but fun.
Right.
This
Never.
bottle. I would never say that this is anything else but fun. So, number one is you changed my life more than once. So I want to introduce people to you and to this thing. This is
Mm-hmm.
Lute.life. It's called, people call it Jesus juice now. At least my friends do.
Sorry, friends.
Sorry, friends. Sorry, friends. So my history with you is you and I became friends in 2020. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
listen to you until 2021, and I started drinking your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a little nervous of it because it says CBD on it. I was like, if you drink that stuff, I don't know if I'm gonna get
Mm-hmm.
high or whatever. And it says on here, if there's a warning, you can always
Mm-hmm.
take more,
You
but
can always have more, but you can't have less.
yeah,
Right.
exactly. And so I drank this for about, I took like a teaspoon of it
Right.
pretty much every day for about 7, 8 months. And then about 6 months in, I started noticing that I hadn't used any of my asthma medicine. And then I intentionally started noticing it. Like I noticed, that's weird. And then I like, wait a second, is it connected? And you went,
Right.
maybe. And
Right.
and I started taking it intentionally for that. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't use my asthma medicine anymore. And then I
Right.
noticed it. I was taking those heart palpitation pills
Mm-hmm.
because I was living in a bit of an angry rageaholic situation.
Mm.
Once I left that, my heart palpitations went away. And then when I started taking Lute, I'm completely off of pharma.
Yeah, that's good. That's great
High
because
five.
that'll help. That'll behoove you for the rest of your life.
Yeah, and so I started seeing that when I did my science fair project when I was when I was 12, I did this presentation that I showed that what's in food is what's in our food that you can't pronounce or that it's in its colors. It causes all these different illnesses,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes for the rest of your life, sometimes you're dead,
Mm.
but or you have cancer or whatever, and then you're put on when you go to the doctor because you're like, oh my gosh, I'm sick. You
Mm-hmm.
get put on a whole line of pharma.
Mm-hmm.
And my science fair project was really like a presentation showing that the same people giving you the are the same people who made you sick.
Yeah, it's owned by the same
Yeah, and I was like, and I
conglomerates.
was 12, and I'm 50, and now
But then
I'm
you were drinking it and using it too. It's peculiar because that's how my aunt is too. Like she has an understanding of that, but then she still believes in all of that.
well, honestly, I was taking the pharma, not knowing, not thinking that it was in my. I was paying attention to what was in my food. I was reading the ingredients. I was
Hmm.
still taking the stuff that my doctor told me to take.
Right.
And believe me, that the doctor I just went to with my mom, all of a sudden out of nowhere, started telling me I need to be on meds for like so to calm my energy down. I'm
Right.
like, no, thank you, I'm not gonna do
Right.
that. And so I want to know, and also, P.S. For my own health and my own sanity and my own, like mental health awareness. We're doing mental health awareness. Lute totally changed my life 100%. And biking is my true love. Like if I'm going to pick
Mm.
my boyfriend, it's going to be a bike.
Mm-hmm.
And hammock camping, which I haven't done with you.
Mm.
And then you created Lute, and
Mm-hmm.
now thank baby Jesus and all the saints in heavens and all the fairies that you are going to create a mighty networks and a
Mm-hmm.
minds that we can actually get your information more and have more
Right.
access to you.
Yeah.
And so I'm very excited about that. So I wanted to just be like, hey, Sean,
Yeah.
what the hell? Like, where did you come from? I love you.
Okay.
I love you.
Love you too.
And where did like your, because I know from my side
Mm-hmm.
that I help people heal from self-abuse and self-mutilation because I was a self-abuser and a self-mutilator.
Mm-hmm.
Not a cutter. I didn't cut. I smacked the shit out of myself a few times to stop men berating me, which is a whole conversation we can have.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to know first of all,
Mm-hmm.
Sean, what started you on this and like what made you do this? And because you're like you're a
Mm.
wizard, man. You're a wizard.
So what started the loot?
Like what started your health
I,
health consciousness? Because obviously you
okay.
must have been sick or something happened to you for you to become aware.
Yeah. Well, so I was always a sick kid, you know, always going to doctors, always had strep throat, ear, nose, and throat things. I was just always sick. So, when I was younger, they wanted to put me on Ritalin, and thankfully, my mother, after a few doses, were like, "This is not my child anymore," and then took me off.
Amazing.
So that, kept some of the super damaging stuff out of me. So
Holy
you can
shit.
imagine how sick I was by the time I was
Yeah.
32.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because, your microbial health is kind of important to your health. Mitochondria are essentially microbes too.
Wait, back up. What the hell are you talking about?
Your mitochondria health and bacteria, the bacteria that you have in your gut. So being on antibiotics for
Kills it
32
all.
years is not ideal for your health. It's
Right, right.
good, not good at all.
Because you've killed all the good stuff.
But yeah, so first 32 years, ear, nose, and throat stuff all the time, terrible skin. And I was in the doctor I've been referred and referred and referred. And I got to this super doctor who's like, we're going to find what's wrong with you. And
Yeah.
orders $3,000 to $4,000 in blood tests. And he's like, I always figure it out. Do not worry. And then after all the tests come back, a month later or so, I come in to see him and he looks at me and he goes, you're good. And I'm like, I'm sorry? And he's like, no, you're good. All the test results. You're good. Nothing wrong with you.
You're like, but I feel bad.
Right. And I'm like, well, I go, do you see me right now? I'm like covered in pustules, like from my head, down my whole trunk, even on my legs.
Like bumps?
Yeah, kind of like pimples, but like they never come to a head.
Right.
Just
Okay.
like,
So
and
you
then
oh
itchy,
my,
and
oh,
I'm itchy all the time.
the
I
hell?
have to like not, like consciously, like not scratch myself because everything itches.
But you're fine.
But he tells me I'm fine. So, yeah, so I mean, I just remember like going full red face, like being so angry in there. And then he goes, well, I can refer you to a dermatologist. Because I was like, look at me, this is fine. I don't feel fine. I feel awful. Like I'm no energy, the whole gamut. And he goes, well, I can refer you to a dermatologist. And I was like, I've been to it. I've been going to dermatists for 20 years at this point. They don't have the answer for me either. And, I'd been on the Accutane. I'd been on, you know, I'd gone to everything that Big Pharma could offer. I worked for CVS, good insurance, great
Oh, so
insurance.
you could just go to any doctor you wanted,
Well, I
pretty
mean,
much.
I don't know, in that time frame, I was working for a healthcare corporation, a Fortune 50 company. I had great insurance, so I was going all the time. And then I just remember him holding the door handle as he was talking to me
Because he was ready to go
because he was
play
ready to
golf.
go. And I was just like, I am never, never coming back to one of these people again. I am not good. I am not good. I know that I'm not good.
Right.
I can feel that I'm not good. And then I was like, I'm done. And I never went back. I mean, I've gone back to like have blood tests, for my own information.
Right. The lab work.
And I've gone to nurse practitioners because I've wanted NAD or I've wanted something that I need from a nurse practitioner. But I have been my own doctor since then.
And you look amazing and you feel amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't have any skin problems. I don't have any itchy problems. I wake up with energy. I don't use any caffeine, zero caffeine.
Yeah, I know.
I'm trying to think. I
We'll
think
talk about that.
zero stimulants. I mean, no stimulants at all. I refer to, I'm sure you've heard me say this, I refer to coffee as anxious juice.
I
Like, why do
know.
I want to be anxious? It seems so counterproductive to anything. Yeah, so that's how I, started becoming my own doctor
And what do
was
you call what's it called? Allo something? Allopathic?
allopathic, I believe is how it's pronounced. Yeah, so you want me to go there?
Yeah, because you
Okay,
started
so
doing this research. I mean,
right,
this
so
is a
so then, you know, a former IT professional, I started in IT work where there were no classes. You just had to learn it yourself. So I started learning it myself, like I've done in the past, and came across some interesting things. I mean, the Flexner Report is incredibly interesting if you want to
what
read
is
the
that?
Flexner Report. William Flexner was sent by the Rockefellers to go to all of the colleges, universities in the country that produced prescribing doctors. Any doctor that was able to prescribe anything from a pharmacy.
Oh boy. So there's Salesforce essentially.
Well, no, so he went to log all of these places, and then the Rockefellers started offering new wings to all of the colleges
What?
in exchange for putting two people of their choosing on the board of directors for all of the colleges that they built new wings, new buildings, new whatever.
Oh, it's like Hollywood took over all the film festivals.
Well, right. So it's just how it's just.
Hollywood
I
agents.
mean, you have to understand that these people, the Vanderbilts, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, these people were more wealthy than Bezos in 1900.
Whoa.
So
So they can do whatever they
they
want.
did whatever they wanted from, late 1800s to early 1900s, and then of course their family are still doing whatever they want because they all have trusts. And they skip generations too to make sure that a generation doesn't blow it all. That's how they're set up.
Oh.
So anyway, so Flexner goes around, figures out all the colleges that produce prescribing doctors. Then they do a big push through all of their ways and means, Congress, whatever they had to do to make all other forms of healthcare illegal other than allopathic medicine.
So they went after hemp.
Everything, hemp, chiropractic, Chinese traditional Chinese medicine, which is 7,000 years old.
Right. Say it's
They got
bad.
they got rid of all of them, and then they funneled all of America and then eventually all of the world into allopathy.
Wow. So
Right.
you learned this research by you yourself being sick. You didn't know all this
Just like how I
stuff.
wanted to know how stuff worked with computers, all the way, back to, I mean, the packet, back to, however small granule you want to get. I wanted to know where it went back to.
Because I started my own journey into deep diving into the perpetrators and the perpetrator
Mm.
networks because of my own journey of healing my own stuff, and then seeing that when I made my documentary, seeing that there's a perpetuation of the perpetrators. I mean, it
Mm.
really is.
I,
It's all connected,
so I
and
don't
I'm
have the
like,
depth of knowledge
oh
that you have
yeah.
on that topic, but I've come across that, and it does, from the knowledge that I have of that angle, they do seem to go back to the same families.
Well, keep people sick and
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Well, yeah, you fragment their
legit.
personality as a child, then you can have control over them for their whole lifetime.
And then we can just completely make women nuts. And then you ruin the
Well,
family unit, and then we're all fucked.
well, yeah, if you want to destabilize a country, you want to destabilize the women because that's the glue that holds the families together. And then you certainly don't want them in the house running the household because then they would educate the children and not the state. And you certainly wouldn't want them not working because then they wouldn't be paying tax. So, you want the women working to pay the tax.
So break the family unit,
Right,
fuck the kids, and I hope I don't get canceled for saying that. But and then make you sick because it's
right.
all related. And so what I do, my personal goal, and you and I share the similar goals, which is why I love you so much and why I want to I'm now attached to you. I am here to turn survivors into warriors so that we elevate and expand together and make a huge shift in global consciousness.
Hmm.
Because there's more survivors than there are perpetrators. Because the
Right.
perpetrators have many victims.
Right.
So my theory and what I've seen in my life and what I can do is provide aha moments for survivors to be
Hmm.
like, oh my God, I've been making myself sick, or I've been listening to a perp, or I've been in love with those who are deceiving me. Honestly, promoting and protecting the perp,
Hmm.
which was my dad. Once I saw that, I was like, oh God. And then I saw that there's a pattern. I did that with other frauds and other con artists, like just like my dad, like perpetuating this whole total fraud.
Hmm.
And I'm seeing it in my life, and and then I see it when talking to you
Hmm.
and learning from you about my actual health. Because
Hmm.
I got this health, then I need to get like the body health, and then I got the sexual health, and now it's a matter of like it's literally elevating and expanding on all levels. And
Well,
with
yeah, I think that it's all connected. I mean, like, don't let allopathy talk you into a blood-brain barrier.
that's
It's
exactly what it
it's
is.
the same blood. It's the same.
I,
It's all connected. If you don't have body health, you're not going to have mind health. If you don't have mind health, you're not going to have body health.
and
It's just the way that it
and
is.
so you created Lute,
Hmm.
and then that changed my life and got me breathing. And
Hmm.
when I start breathing, I'm able to bike more and do my favorite thing in the world is bike more because I'm breathing. Amazing how that
Well,
works.
the breath is incredibly important. The breath can calm your mind. The breath can calm your body. That's one of the things that I want to talk about is breath.
That's
You
your thing. It was I
hmm
asked you earlier, like, what's your number one thing? And
hmm
it would get people breathing. You
Yeah.
got me breathing, my friend.
And then for the world that you're in, it can uncover the traumas too. You know,
Right. And people are
because
afraid of it. It's just that you're afraid
right.
to cry and afraid to get mad.
First thing that a lot of people do if they start crying is, you know, kind
Hold
of retent and
hold their
hold the
breath.
breath because with the breath comes more of the feelings, and so you want to avoid those feelings if you're a feeling avoidant person. So you retent the breath, but then guess what? It stays in you. You don't get rid of it.
Yeah.
Animals that go through trauma, they'll shake. You'll
Yep.
after
I
a
tried that a lot.
traumatic event, they'll shake like crazy. We never do that. Animals have so many different kinds of breath. I mean, think about your dog. In different situations, it's breathing differently. We don't have any, different kinds of breath, and it's because we're not taught it, and we're taught to act a certain way, which, we're human beings. We're animals that have a consciousness, inside of us. So
And just to interrupt you just a second, we're getting some
a
questions on
single consciousness.
and people want you. They want you to
Hmm.
show us meditations, show us what to do, show us what worked for you because
Hmm.
you, just like me, are an example of what to do. You're out of all the bumps on your body, right?
Hmm.
You did it. So
Well, I
so
mean,
and
yeah.
you are. By the way, he is starting a whole new Mighty Networks and
Hmm.
Minds, and also Music City e-bikes
Hmm.
is, yes, it's a bike company, but it's way more than that.
Yeah, the,
It
the
really
the
is.
precipice of doing the mines and the Mighty Network thing is just I would have conversations with people that would come to ride bikes with me,
Yep.
and I could tell that they wanted to continue the conversation, afterwards. People have seemed to want to continue the conversation that we have on these 2-hour bike rides, and I've been connecting with people, on my ride through Nashville. So I just, you know, so many interesting people or so many people that I've watched, like maybe even have an aha moment, like something that I've said
Yeah.
has really resonated with them, and then they'll talk to me afterwards, and I don't have a platform. Well, I will shortly, and I want
Happening.
to connect all the people, that come through my ride
And it's the one in
together.
Nashville and
Right.
we're gonna before this podcast airs, this will be live. But right now, for y'all, it's Music City e-bikes.
And the other thing I want to say is culture has gotten a little crazy.
Yeah.
And so some of the things that I say on this ride, I didn't know how they were going to fly when I said them.
You mean like
For boy, there's a bunch. There's
there's
a
a
bunch of
bunch.
things that are said on the ride
There's
that
a
it's
bunch.
not just a bike ride.
No, it's not just a bike ride.
And the thing that has been great to see is that most everyone is in agreement. Not I shouldn't say agreement. Most everyone it resonates with. But when you go online, a lot of these topics that I tap dance around or maybe touch on, you would think that it's 50-50 or 60-40, in the opposite direction.
No, people want to know.
But that's the thing, that's not what I'm running into. If
Right.
anything, it's like 90-10.
Yep.
So, that's why I wanted to do the mighty and the minds, because the people that are coming through, you know, I can tell by their reactions that they would never say the things to a group of people that I'm saying.
Same. We
Right. So, but the thing is, when everyone is in agreement on these things, that fear of discussion is our free speech.
take that away immediately.
Well, no, so I just want to, it's just, I think it'd be neat to have all these people that come on the ride to be able to get together and chat. And then, of course, I'm going to speak on my health journey and the things that I've learned along the way. And, starting at that Flexner, it's like, oh, so, this was all a money-making thing
Yeah.
from day one. And then it's like, well, I know something about corporations. Corporations CEOs have a fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders to not make any decisions that do not benefit their bottom line.
Oh, right.
They will be immediately ousted and lose all of their compensation. So I ask anyone who listens to this, if you were making multi-millions of dollars per year and you had in your contract that you could not make a single decision that would hurt your company's bottom line, that means you're not making the decisions that you would want to make.
Right. Or that
You
are better for the people.
or that are better for the people, yes. You are making the decisions that will benefit the bottom line of the shareholders. And who are the shareholders? Might have to edit this part out. So you might see some bleeps or something after this, but Vanguard, BlackRock,
Really.
yeah.
So you
And
really.
who owns
Oh God.
Vanguard?
Oh God, I'm gonna puke. What?
BlackRock. And they all own each other too.
Right. I feel like we're talking about family court all of a sudden. Oh
But
God,
it
it's so
seems to cross
similar.
in, and then one of those companies is private, and so you can't even see who owns it. It's totally opaque who is the majority shareholders of Vanguard. State Street is much smaller than Vanguard and BlackRock.
So meanwhile, we're just drinking up the poison.
Yeah, because they all have fiduciary responsibilities to not harm the bottom line. So I mean, you could even take something as simple as Coca-Cola, right? Like, you know, you could make it with sugar. You don't have to make it with high fructose corn syrup.
Right.
You could use different colorings.
Yeah, but that wouldn't poison people.
Well, right. And then Europe has a lot of laws. If you
Yeah.
look at if you want to test this, look at European chips, look at American chips.
Yep. Oh no, I know.
It's
And I
it's
just
so it's so anything that that's mass produced in America has all of these toxins in it.
it really does. And I was just in Greece not too long ago. I drank milk every single day. Did not have that thing at
Yeah.
all. I came here. I have a milk in my coffee for a
Right.
cappuccino, and I'm instantly within like 10 minutes I get like
Right. Right. Yeah. And it's not, that's not just a throat
that's just
thing. That's total body too. That's just where you're noticing it.
where it's your
That's where
body
it's
is
displaying
telling
it.
you
Right.
the warning.
And then if you keep going, and then if you weren't doing other habits that are, helping to lower your inflammation, then it would eventually get in your lungs, and then you'd have asthma again.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But anyway, to put it together, we were on.
Well, for me, I went to go back to make it personal because everyone loves the personal, and also that, like, what got you into it? You know what I mean? Is I'm always interested is to see the whole journey, and also then you told me about your back, and I was like, oh God, here we go again.
Yeah. So according to allopathy, I needed back surgery.
Oh God,
So I
say
started,
it
I
too.
started researching back surgery, and everybody, I shouldn't say everybody, but the majority, it seems, were like, don't do it. Like, any person that I ran into in real life that had the surgery,
Say don't do it.
don't do it.
Right.
Now, when you go to the doctors, they'll give you these studies, but I also have to point out, you tell me the results you want, I'll set up the study.
Exactly.
So, that you can't,
I
you have
noticed
to look
that.
at who funds the study. Any rate, but when I would see people live in person that had back surgeries, it was a don't do it,
Yeah.
was the majority that I was getting. So then I had to find a different route, you know, to
But then
fix the
you,
back.
but then you had to fix the back because of you.
Oh, yeah. So the story is that I had a rough birth. It was like 8 to 10 hours of labor. They were using forceps on my head, and according to practitioners that I've been to, they can feel that like I got a little smashed with the forceps during
Crani-
that 8 to 10 hours. Yeah,
cranial
craniosacral
sacral work.
therapists.
That's really
I've
great.
been to a few of them, and they have the same opinion. Then after that 8 to 10 hours, I flipped around, and then they did a C-section.
Oh, you were
So,
like,
which
no, I
is
ain't coming out.
also, if you research that, that's also terrible because you don't get it does something to your
Oh
microbiome.
yeah, all the stuff, the yummy stuff you're supposed to go through the vagina.
Right. Yes. Yeah, you don't you miss out on that
My kid
when you
turned
get
around too.
so C-section too.
Yep, I
Yeah.
did. Emergency ski, the whole thing. I had
Yeah.
it all planned. I had the hypnobirthing.
Mm.
I had the doulas. I had the midwives, and all of a sudden she's butt ass first, and they were like,
Mm.
"It's against our policy to
Yeah.
try to do that."
And by the way, how they say that modern medicine has upped our life expectancy 30 years. Well, the reason why is because a lot of people used to die during childbirth because of babies flipping around and complications because we have a big head size to body ratio. And so that's why we have to come out so underdeveloped. You know, a lot of animals come out and like they're, you know, pretty quickly can fend for themselves. Humans take forever to fend for themselves because of that. That's how they're cooking the books. It's not modern medicine that really affected the average life expectancy.
But then you had some domestic violence too.
Oh, right. Yeah. So the story goes that my father beat me up because I was constantly crying, probably because
'Cause
I
you were in
got
pain.
dinged up during birth and I
Yeah.
was in pain. So I was constantly crying. So I had like a year and a half. Apparently, I got beat up. So then my mother divorced my father, and then I mean, as a kid, when I can go back to consciously remember, I was always hyper flexible. Like sit and reach, I'd be like grabbing the end of the board. Well, so it turns out that I have a lower back vertebrae that's really jacked up and
Oh
kind of
God.
turned to the right, and it just is a disaster. So
From
anyway,
being beaten as a little kid, like a little kid.
well,
So you don't
that's
remember
so
it
what
'cause you.
happened to you when you were very young. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to walk like this.
Wow.
So, single mom life is how I grew up. But yeah, so of course I couldn't go to allopathy because
They're gonna tell you how to surgery.
well, they
That's
did the
you.
surgery, and I researched the surgery, and the surgery from my research was an absolute no. Everybody who got it seemed to have more problems, or it took them, half a decade to recover. And then they're like, I'm okay, but it took 5 years
Right,
before I
right.
could do basic things again. And I was like, oh, that's not for me. So then, I went down the yogic route.
Which I have yet to do, but I will. I promise.
Yeah. And so
Led Zeppelin.
I can't say I have back pain anymore. I have back weakness that I'm working on, and I'm getting stronger all the time.
It shows.
Yeah.
And you also
Yeah.
bike all the time and you're
Hmm.
healthy and you look great and it's like you
No.
did it.
Yeah.
That's why you're the one that I go to. That I'm like,
Hmm.
hey, what would you? Even when my kid is sick, I call
Hmm.
you.
Yeah.
I'm like, what would I do? What would you do? You know?
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. But just like people come to me asking me like how to get out of panic attacks. How do you
Hmm.
not beat yourself up?
Yeah.
But legit, you need to know actually what do you do?
Hmm.
Not just this like overall, well, just be healthy.
Yeah,
No,
what
it's
I
like,
do is I just turn any negative into a positive, and then I just am positive all the time.
yeah, I'm like, well,
Just gotta be happy, Angela.
what did you actually do?
You just gotta be happy.
Oh God. Well,
Yeah.
you have made me breathe, which has made me happy. And you know what the amazing thing is? I don't even take Lute anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I don't consume that much loot either. I mean, I do occasionally because it's fun. It's a it.
Well, if you chug it, it's fun.
Well, right, yeah. I mean,
Oh,
it'll get you.
hey, hey.
It'll get you sophisticated.
It'll get you sophisticated. This will
So,
get you sophisticated.
yeah, and then in
Also,
the low doses, it's just it
Lute dot laugh.
relieves anxiety and inflammation, which has a litany of benefits.
So tell me how the Lute started. Like, how did you go from, okay, you're
Okay,
sick,
so
you're walking again, you got the bumps off your. Yeah, how did it work? So
Well,
you
so
left the doctor's office and you said, "No way, I ain't staying there."
yeah, and that's,
And then what happened?
that's a lengthy story on health and wellness. But that's a
But
different thing.
that's like
Do you
a
want that or do you want the loot story?
well, both. But I mean, you're gonna do it on your Mighty Network. I want also want the
Okay.
loot. I don't know what. I'm waiting on mine.
Because
Leslie says she's waiting on hers. It was shipped, girl.
I shipped it. Yeah, she should have it. I mean, we can track it. I can track it. I'll send you a tracking number. Just
So-
send me a note. What is it? info@lute.life. Send me an email and then I'll send the tracking.
Awesome.
Because it went out a couple days ago. So
Yeah, I saw it in my own eyes.
yeah.
So, so there's your journey in health.
Yeah.
She loves it. Thank you. And what do you want, Leslie? You want the journey in health or how Luke got made? Yep, this one's ordering a bottle for her husband on Father's Day. So maybe the loot, like tell us like what the hell is
Yeah,
this and how
so
did this start?
the loot is multifaceted. So I want to be social. I really do. But the problem is that the sanctioned drugs and
God.
social gatherings,
Alcohol?
alcohol, heavy stimulants, because, there's a reason why, there's cocaine on most money in circulation is because it's everywhere, because it's just like the yin to alcohol's yang.
Ugh, I've never done it.
I've never done it either because I had friends around me that would do it and
And they're
I
nuts.
thought they were total jackasses, and then the next day they would be like, I can't believe I did that. They'd be beating up themselves for like a week on why they did that. So I'm like, they were awful when they were on it. Then for a week they're like berating themselves because they did it. So I was like, I'll skip this.
I'll skip that
I'll
one.
skip that. That doesn't look good to me. So I'm, thankful I did. But so I really wanted to just make something I'm not saying don't drink. I'm not saying that at all. There's something fun about having cups with your buddies and
That's
banging cups together and cheers.
Yeah, yeah.
And then when you're in a bar or when you're in a social situation, to have something in your hand.
Yep. It really yep.
I mean, it took me, I can't even remember, but it took me a lengthy amount of time to feel comfortable in a bar without something in my hand.
Right. And that's also why people smoke cigarettes too.
Right.
Same.
Right.
It's like
so
you can't just stand
and then,
there.
And then, you'll see people with the busy hands all the time, but so that's a whole other thing. But so I wanted to I had a vision, I guess, of, having non-alcoholic, or not non-alcoholic, I would just say where alcohol isn't at the forefront gatherings.
Right.
Essentially, all I wanted to do is create a space where people aren't as drunk.
Right.
Can be,
You can do it if you want, but
no, you can be, boozed up, but just not that level of where, and being in Nashville, if you
like
go
I saw
out,
last night. that
if you
people
go
just-
out here in Nashville, just people are taking it to 11.
oh yeah, I witnessed that.
Right, and the Adderall and the cocaine and mixed with the alcohol, you can't have an intelligent conversation or even a fun conversation.
Yeah, no.
It's just
They're
like,
falling on you.
well, it's not just falling on you. It's just like, it doesn't make sense. And so, I mean, I tested this theory. Like when people would come up to me and I couldn't understand what they were telling me, and I would be sober at these bars, I would go out with my friends still to the bars, during the time I was getting used to not having anything in my hand. And they would come up and I couldn't understand what they were saying. And then I used to try to understand what people were trying to say to me, because people will come up to me everywhere and just start talking to me.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
Look at
I
you.
went to a Struggle Jennings concert, which, by the way, I was a fan of Struggle. After going to his concert, I'm a huge fan of Struggle and what he's doing. He's really doing some great things.
Oh, that's cool.
But I digress.
People come up to
people
you.
come up to me all the time, and then if I can't understand them, they were getting angry.
Ah.
So I started responding just in the tone that I think they wanted back, but not in English.
What would you say?
Well, I mean, somebody comes up to me and they'd just be like, "Meh," and then I just hit them
Just gibberish.
gibberish,
That's
but
funny.
like in the tone
You're-
that seemed to me that they wanted to hear in response for the energy that they brought to me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally makes sense. Yeah.
And that would fly. And then I was like, whoa, like, what am I doing here? I was like, I'm not connecting with anyone here.
Right.
I'm wasting my time
Yeah.
being in these places. I'm going out with my friends. I'm not connecting with my friends. I was like, we got a major cultural problem here when everybody's getting this smashed.
Yeah.
you know, having drinks and there's so many cultures that have drinks as a woven into their culture, and there is no problem with that. I have no problem with drinking. I am not telling anyone to not drink. I'm just simply saying that there's a level when it's too much and it's detrimental. Want to be in social situations where there still is a connection that can be made.
Amazing.
Yeah. So I made it just to, you can have something in your hand. It's designed to be a mixer. It's designed to be the vodka of cannabinoids. So it's a cannabinoid blend. And,
Cannabinoid.
it's all made from hemp. So, it's not marijuana. So it's a little easier than marijuana, although, you still get sophisticated with it.
Oh, if you chug it,
Yeah. I've had customers that did not heed any of the warnings.
it's
And
like a mushroom trip if you chug.
well,
From my,
cannabis is a psychedelic in very high doses.
well, there you
And
go.
this is designed for rapid absorption because, I wanted to make it as similar as I could to like some kind of alcoholish experience. So that's the goal. And, so maybe you have a Lute-based cocktail, and then maybe you have a alcohol-based cocktail, and
Right.
maybe you're at a bar and you bounce back and forth.
Your site, Lute.life, has a bunch of mixers and like you
Right.
can mix it and stuff. I personally just take a teaspoon of it.
Well, right, and that's what I tell a lot of people is, you know, if you don't want to get sophisticated, if you're not
I
trying
love
to
that
have a good
word.
time, if you take it in lower doses, you can find your dose where it relieves aches and pains.
Right, which is me, a
And
teaspoon
or
daily.
it can give you even some creative energy too, where, if the fog of anxiety is dropped a little bit, then you can get some things done.
Yep.
Being in fear and worry,
To me, it's like
you
sort
know.
of a lot. I have a lot of most of my friends actually are on meds, some kind of
Hmm.
Prozac or whatever that is for anti-anxiety. And
Hmm.
for me, I've never taken any of those meds. It's
Hmm.
because of my science fair project.
Hmm.
Granted, I was on the asthma ones
Hmm.
because I swallowed that pill, but I notice when I take a little bit of it, I think that it's similar to what people are getting from the made up meds, like this kind of like even like I feel good. I'm not like crazy high. I just feel like nice and
Yeah,
clear.
yeah, and a lot of those drugs. Remember you give me the results you want, I'll set up the study.
Yeah,
Uh,
seriously.
but there are a lot
You
of
mean the
there's tons
pandemic?
of
Oh,
patents in on cannabis. The U.S. government holds a ton of patents on cannabis, and if you read through them, it's neuroprotective effects, and it's just so much good stuff.
right,
That's why it's absolutely absurd that it's illegal. I'm
right.
talking about, I mean, well, because hemp and marijuana are like so similar.
What's the
It's an
same plant?
arbitrary, right? It's an arbitrary, if it has less than 0.03 delta 9 THC in it, then it's hemp. If it has more than 0.03, then it's marijuana.
Weird, but it's the
Well,
same
it's the
plant
government. It's the government, so they've decided, that you can't have it. Well,
because it
they
works.
have a fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders.
Mm-hmm.
And you know how many drugs would not be needed if you could use cannabis?
Yep.
And and then the other thing too is they make it not profitable because they hold the patents. So if you were to try to develop a cannabis-based drug, well, they already hold the patents on it.
Holy cow.
So, and then of course you can never claim that it does anything. So I'm not claiming
It's fun. It's just
Lute,
a fun
right.
drink.
Lute is designed to be fun. People have reported to me in low doses, there's some interesting effects.
Me.
Right. And others too.
I'm off pharma.
Right.
Thank you.
And because you don't want to be sophisticated, you know,
Hey, wait, I'll get sophisticated.
but no, you don't, you can play with the line of where you're not lifted in any way. Or, you
Yeah,
can have fun with it too.
teaspoon.
And you can, compared to marijuana, I think that I'm a lot more verbal on Lute because of the blend. So it's, sometimes people on it can
1%.
be like very couch locked,
Yep.
where they just, have a dull stare and just want to watch movies and
I
eat.
can't. That's not me.
Right, and I don't want to be there either. So there's an attempt here to not do that to people.
Yeah. Well, I gave my
And
mom a little Tupperware thing, like a
yeah,
little, like a little small Tupperware, and I was like, Mom, take a little sip or a teaspoon of this every day. I am so happy, but I can't get off the sofa.
yeah,
And I was
if
like,
you
Mom,
take like the
did
thing,
you drink?
Yeah.
She's like, well, I drank that whole thing. I was like, oh my God,
There's
so you're as hell.
so in a liquor bottle of this size, you would have 16 servings, but this is 50 servings
Right. How do
right
you
here.
drink it is the question.
How do I drink it? Well, it depends what I'm doing.
Ah,
You know, like if I have aches and pains and I'm just trying to go to yoga, and I'm just
to relax.
right, I'm just trying to go to yoga to relax, do some yoga, but I've done 2 rides today and elbow hurts or whatever. I'm gonna take the smallest amount that I know to be effective for me.
What is that for you? For me, it's like a quick chug.
I'll do, the half ounce is typically where I'll be for just like, if I'm just trying to knock out a headache
Is
or
that like a
something.
shot?
Shots like
So,
1.25 ounces, I think,
okay,
in
so like
alcohol
half a
world, or
shot.
1 ounce in alcohol world. 1.25. I don't know. Patrick would know.
So even Lute helps with stress, because like that call I just got. You know what I
Well,
mean?
I
It's like,
mean, yeah, anything that's anti-inflammatory, relaxant. Yeah, I mean, I mean, certainly cannabis can help with stress. I mean, that's well
yeah.
documented.
And
Yeah,
you've got to now ride bikes, which is also in
yeah,
line with your
10
health.
minutes.
So you have bikes, you have Lute, your drinking and eating is something I also want to have on my show, Stirring Up Trouble, because I'm also fascinated. And now I've stayed with
Mm-hmm.
you a week. I've stayed in his
Mm-hmm.
Airbnb. You have an Airbnb like
Mm-hmm.
that's attached to your bike company, which is amazing. I'm like, I want to live there. Not live, but I want to. Everybody, can
It's
you
a
book
nice
the
space.
Airbnb and then bring me?
I like all the windows in
I
there,
love it. I love that
and you
it's
can
right
still
above the
see the park.
bikes. It's like for a bike, it's a bike lover's dream. You are a bike lover's dream. I'm like, I'm in heaven. I can't even commend you enough. So I will say I've only just begun with you. I want to help you everywhere I can because we share the same
Thank you.
mission. We share the same mission of you want people to breathe and like actually be healthy. I want them to breathe
We're
and get out of the chronic
hmm
cycle of being perped on, honestly, which
yeah,
is,
we're going to the same point, just
yeah,
through different angles.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, and
yeah,
I,
yeah, yeah, and there's different angles to get there too. Yeah.
well, because you're helping conversation with you about men and women and
Mm.
relationships, because I know you're dating or trying, honey,
Mm.
listen, he's trying to find a woman
Are you
that's
asking me
not,
for my
that's,
record?
that,
Yeah, a
that,
woman of childbearing age that is not on any drugs and doesn't drink.